Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. What's the number 2 clue we all missed? What are the cops searching for in Rex Heuermann's house? Are they searching for dead bodies? Are they searching for human remains? Well, he lived there with his family. We know where several dead bodies were found. They were found across the bay on the beach. But it's possible there would be that kind of evidence in the form of cadaver odor. But the number 2 clue is a lot simpler and a lot more obvious than that. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're finding this coverage interesting, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button and let's get started. And so have a look at this headline. New York police found soundproof room in home of accused GILGO Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann. According to the New York Post, quote, a former co-worker told the Post that suspected serial murderer Rex Heuermann took time off his job as a Manhattan architect at one point to install a concrete-lined vault at his family's Long Island house. One wonders when this actually happened. The article goes on to state it's not clear if that basement compartment is the one cops suspect could have been a killing chamber or whether it is possibly the space previously reported to hold Heuermann's up to 300 guns. So what we're dealing with is a compartment within the basement. And I have to say, why would you soundproof a gun compartment? And I think one possible reason is, well, what if you shot the gun in that compartment? Would anyone, in other words, discharge the firearm in that compartment? Would anyone hear that? And why would he need to do that? Well, I think a few of us can think of a reason why. Of course, it could be both. It could be that the guns are used in the commission of a crime, and it could also be that there are other reasons for that room as well. But I think you can imagine one of the covers he might have to his own family. The reason why I've got to really have this fortified room is because I've got so many guns and I've got to keep them safe. I've got to keep the guns secure. You can imagine him saying that to his family. But besides that, what innocent reasons could there be for a soundproof basement? Well, if Heuermann was a gamer or a sports fan and he liked to listen to games with the sound on high, or did he have an interest in heavy metal music? Did he? Again, the alternative could be that the room was used to muffle blood-curdling screams and cries, and they were screams and cries the killer wanted to incite, but only for himself. He wanted to hear them. He didn't want anyone else to hear them. That's certainly a possibility. According to the New York Post, quote, but it's not just a hidden room, it's a serious vault. It had a huge, heavy-duty safe door. He went and poured new concrete walls, massive amounts of concrete to encase this room. It was maybe 2 or 3 feet thick. So one has the impression that the basement was there already, and he then did extensive remodeling, if that's the word, right? Extensive reinforcement to make it soundproof. So as I say, the soundproof room was achieved by pouring concrete to make walls 2 to 3 feet wide. One has a sense of a meticulous effort to create a secret lair, but if that's the case, would one really expect to find evidence in it? Wouldn't it, after all, be a sort of Dexter-like environment? If that's the case, they ought to be looking for items like big rolls of cling wrap, canvas, and plastic sheeting. Unfortunately for the killer, his preferred style of killing would tend to leave behind an orgy of evidence. He might do a good job cleaning everything up 9 times out of 10, but it's that one incidental smear on a piece of tissue paper or a towel, or the one drop of blood that seeps through a crack in a wooden floor, such as the one in the patio garden area, that would be enough to seal his fate, and that is what happened in the Patrick Frazee case. What we've also seen from the photos of the property is an enormous woodpile, really a mountain of chopped wood. And we know he was regularly burning things in his back garden. Also, he was regularly chopping things. This may well be how he disposed of evidence, under the veil of doing garden work or chopping wood. Also, if he needed to chop wood, he'd have a reason to have all sorts of tools to break wood into smaller pieces, axes, cutting implements. Once again, potentially a smokescreen for torture tools. According to the same New York Post article, quote, items pulled out of Huerman's home in Massapequa Park in recent days have included more than 200 firearms, a large doll in a glass case, a large portrait of a woman with a bruised face, and a filing cabinet. Were some or all of these items taken from inside the secured bunker, or was it in the house itself? The New York Post also interviewed a guy called Robert Musto, a 64-year-old retired Long Island Railroad worker, and also the longtime neighbor to Huerman in Massapequa Park. And he basically described him as a wacko. He said, this guy's a wacko. Well, he's got a soundproof room in his basement. And then I think he asked the cops, what do you think that was for? And then he was told, these are his words, they're saying there's evidence he killed at least one of the girls down there. I don't know if that's true. I think they were looking for evidence of that. But in any event, he was saying that the cops are going to dig all of that out. They focused on the soundproof room in the basement, but they're going to look at everything. I believe they've also brought back a lot of the stuff that they've taken away. They've actually returned to the home since then. In any event, this is the number 2 clue we all missed. It makes complete sense that an architect would design in his own home some feature like this within the scenario of a potential serial killer, that an architect suspect would create an idiosyncratic feature in his own home. I mean, we are dealing with a killer who appears to be, or an architect who appears to be a killer. And so, since he's an architect, what would he do? Or wouldn't he build something? And isn't that what he did? Once again, from the outside, the house looks nondescript, but beneath the external layer, there's a deep, dark space. Huerman's man cave. You have the same scenario going on with the gardening, and don't you have the same scenario going on with the boating? One of the features about it that also stands out is that the basement doors exit direct into the outside garden. This means the killer doesn't have to carry evidence through his own home. Aren't most basements in this area of Long Island accessed exclusively through a door inside the house? And I just want to tip my hat to Thought Criminal, who shared some of these thoughts as well with me on Instagram. So thanks a lot for that. I'm not going to take it further than that, but if you haven't already watched the videos on Motive and the one after that, the one dealing with Rex Huerman's lust for power, those two are sort of complementary videos to one another. They take the analysis further. I've got a lot of positive feedback from that, so if you haven't watched those, make sure you do. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.